Exactly. I just sigh of relief. All right, let's do this. Thank you for everyone tuning in. It's nice to actually talk about a win in Philadelphia. All right, here we go. Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast. Elliot Shore Parks, James Seltzer with you. And look, it was frustrating at times and scary, and there were terrifying moments, but 326 yards and 3 TDs for Jalen. DeVonta, 183 and a tutty. AJ over 102 tutties, 120 something, whatever, and 2 tutties. 5-2, a road win. Showed up after the disgusting Giants performance. And I'll tell you this on a most basic level, Elliot. I said to Emily before the game, and I stand by it, and obviously not as much as the Super Bowl, but I said there today is the most like mentally, emotionally, I have needed the Eagles to win a game since the Super Bowl, and they freaking won it. So, like, a lot to get into. A bad day for certain people, including some certain big names. Nick, let's pull it together, buddy. But on the whole, like, you know what? Like, they won the game, and for the people who wanted to see the Jalen, AJ, DeVonta stuff after the 10 days, well, guess what? Like, that was awesome whenever they needed it in the biggest of spots, the four deep past AJ, the one at the end, like it was the DeVonta one, the touchdown AJ. It was just big shot after big shot against coming in the whatever, number one, number two pass defense in the league. Run against them. The Eagles came in and threw all over them, Elliott. Just a much needed win, even if a flawed win.
Yeah, so I thought today was the best example of why wins are a quarterback stat. Like, you just look at the difference between the two quarterbacks. He
put his cape on, Elliot. He did it.
He put his cape on.
Your 300-yard stat, the Carson stat, he was like, Elliot, hold this.
Okay? Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, he was unbelievable. Like, I thought it was one of Jalen's best games of his career, maybe. I mean, you talk about
Tucker said that to me before
the pressure. You talk about the pressure coming into the game, how bad I think everyone was with you and really needing to see a win. And then you add in the fact that he was going up against a Brian Flores defense that played a ton of zone coverage. We'll see what the breakdown was in terms of zone versus man, but he was unbelievable today. And I thought what really made him so special today was how special he was on third downs. Like, there was a sequence there where I think it was 3rd and 13. He escapes a pocket. He gets a big first down. A 4th down play he made. There was another big 3rd down play made. Obviously, the play at the end of the game to AJ, like you saw pre-snap, he recognized AJ was on an island against Isaiah Rodgers. Why the Vikings did that, I have no idea. Like, another good example, though, of why the Eagles, the philosophy against blitzes sometimes does result in those type of plays. But man, like, they needed a franchise quarterback today, and they got a franchise quarterback today. There was like maybe 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league that win that game today. What he did in terms of avoiding pressure, what he did in terms of making big plays on big downs. That pass to DeVonta, you could not have thrown that any better than he threw it. The pass to A.J. Brown for the touchdown, the second touchdown, couldn't have thrown it any better. The first touchdown pass to A.J., that's a play that is broken down. He extends, keeps his eyes down the field, throws it to A.J. for the touchdown. Like, time and time and time again, he saved this team. Because let's be honest, and I don't want to move off of Jalen yet because he deserves like some special praise today. In a game that they could have lost a few times, in a game where me and Tucker are doing the halftime show, they could have been up a point for as bad as Carson was playing. So
I mean, TJ Hockenson could have caught that ball in the end zone, exactly. At the end there even,
Yeah, so like time after time after time, Jalen made plays today to save them when they needed saving. And that is what a quarterback's supposed to do for you. And on the flip side of that, Carson Wentz did the exact opposite. Carson missed big play. It was the best example ever of a hit or miss at quarterback. Like, he made so many plays that, not so many, but he made a few plays where you're like, all right, he's moving the ball down the field, right? All that. Then he just missed. Like, the defense, which we'll get into, allowed chances for the Vikings to score today. Carson didn't take advantage of it. But without question, my biggest takeaway from today is like, man, they needed a win. They needed a special performance. And that's why Jalen, like all week I said, we defended this guy as a top 5 quarterback all year. And today he played like a top 5 quarterback.
No doubt. And it's the first time in a while it was like him, AJ, and DeVonta carrying the entire offense and the team. And to your point, it was really a contra. Obviously, when you think about Wentz being with the Eagles, especially the game in that stadium where he was on the sideline for the Super Bowl and all that. And, you just are so grateful to have Jalen because they both showed like extraordinary athleticism today and
Yeah.
plays that only a handful of people alive can make. Carson too, like that. If Hockenson had caught it, it would have been an unbelievable play.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
some of those runs he had, like he was a gamer, but we also saw Carson do the thing where on the first one, held on to the ball a second too long, gets hit, throws the pick, like heaves the ball up in the air because he trusts his
Two of the
ability more
worst
than
throws, like
you could ever see. And Miss Jefferson, like 3 or 4 deep balls that like could have been touchdowns and in a couple cases I think should have been. He's just, that was the difference. Like that's why Jalen is who he is and why Carson is who he is, and that was the difference in the game today. I agree with you when you boil it down. And to your point, credit to Jalen. You said it. You said that phrase. You're like, hey, it's time to put the cape on. Like, and it might have been his best regular season game ever. Like it's certainly.
Yeah.
I think it's
a perfect passer rating.
I think it's hard to say it's better than the Super, like that first Super Bowl, like
for sure.
Considering it's the Super
playoffs,
Bowl, but like they needed it. Like when the pressure's on, this dude's and even in the moments, like you said, like that throw to AJ at the end, that was as pressure packed a throw as you have in a game. If you don't make that, Minnesota could win. Like if you're only up 6, like if you don't make the 4th and 4 early in the game, who knows? And that was so fun to see him like do the little point to AJ, be like, "Go, I got you." Like that was the first time we've seen playoff Jalen. The guy we talked about all off season, like you said, the elite guy this season, and he was surgical. He was awesome. And to your point, every time even when things weren't working, he was able to find AJ. DeVonta, I don't know if you heard this stat on you probably didn't because you weren't watching the broadcast, but wild one. DeVonta's 183 yards today, the most a wide receiver has had in a game this season, all year by any team. So that just shows how effective those guys were. And obviously it was AJ really in the biggest of moments with the biggest of catches. Again, just one more thing, just to hammer home, on the road for the second straight road game, coming off your worst loss since 2023, and it being Jalen, AJ, DeVonta, really Jalen, AJ in the heat of it more than anyone else. A lot of people in the heat, but those two being in the heat of it the most. Like this was again, we'll get to the flaws today, but I think this was a super big, important day for those guys and an important win for those guys.
Yeah, so 2 things off that. Like one, I would say that I thought today, not to continually compare Jalen to Carson, but I think it's just the best way I can make.
It's natural. It's freaking natural, dude.
But
the last 2 quarterbacks who started a season, the Eagles won a Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. And like even today, like I just think we saw the difference between a real bad quarterback and the way that Jalen hurts the team when we talk about him. Like Jalen, when we criticize him on the pod or say he wasn't good enough, it's often very like nuanced ways, like holding onto the ball a half a second too late, ball placement sometimes, right? Unwillingness at time to get rid of the ball and put it in harm's way when maybe he should. Like those are things Jalen needs to work on. And those are things that have hurt the offense so far this year. The difference between that and a bad quarterback was on display today. What Carson did today was lose the game for his team. Like early on in the game, he made more dumb plays today than Jalen's probably made in the last calendar year.
Dude, all time.
The pick 6 was terrible, but outside that, how about when he just chucked the ball at the ground from the pocket?
I know.
Like,
oh my God. It was like the most clear grounding you'll ever see. It was like, do you not know the rule, guy? Like, what was that?
So like,
and also just so inconsistent with a lot of those throws. Like he had guys open the flat, like constantly. Obviously that one Addison play, they should just run it every single play. Like, but he just misses so many throws, like so many throws.
And Jalen doesn't do that. So like even when we talk about Jalen in a negative way on the pod, there are levels to like an elite quarterback struggling and a bad quarterback doing bad quarterback things. And today Jalen was at his best. So obviously the difference was extreme, but today did also put into perspective the difference between, man, they got a problem at quarterback, and man, they got a quarterback that needs to work on things. Like there's a major difference there. But the other thing I would say too, before we get to some of the negatives, I feel like there's been a lot of pods this year, and we'll talk about the negatives for sure, but there's been a lot of pods this year where it's like they won and quickly move on, right?
Who do you blame for the win type pod?
Exactly, right. I honestly, like my biggest takeaway today is Jalen by like a mile. And then the negative things just don't hit me as much
AJ and
today.
DeVonta is like
that's part of it for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
That's part of it.
100%. Like it's everything today.
And look, I'm sure people will break the tape
We're going to
down.
talk about other stuff, but I'm with you. It's like you want to like put it in bold and highlight and
exactly right.
Else is secondary to this. This is by far the most important thing that happened today and the most consequential. here's the other stuff. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you, dude.
Yeah. And like, look, I'm sure there were differences in what they did today. And I'm not saying that the play calling and the play designs were exactly the same today as they were. They had the under center throw, which they didn't do, right?
Yeah,
Like, so
which is cool.
there were wrinkles, but I also think today showed like, man, when Jalen's great, this team is going to be fine. Like, and you can say that's unfair to put on Jalen, but that's what it is to be the franchise quarterback.
Yeah, no, I
because
agree.
because when Jalen plays well, they have the guys to do it. DeVonta, obviously outstanding today. And look, I'm talking a lot about Jalen, but to your point, like DeVonta and AJ also unbelievable. Like Jalen had to be unbelievable for them to be unbelievable, but they made big time plays. And like the other thing too, I'll say is like when me and Tucker did the halftime pod, the mood was not a good one, right? It was they're not
We
playing
were
one
texting.
up. Blah, blah.
I know.
Yeah, and like Jalen comes out and he has that big throw to DeVonta, and it's like, whew, like Jalen had so many moments in the second half where it felt like it was falling apart.
Where it was like where you
yeah,
saw
exactly.
It, like, thank God. Totally,
yeah, like I turned like 2 or 3 times to people in the press box being like, man, they might really lose this game. And then it felt like the next moment was Jalen making something to save the game. And so if you want to talk about just this game, it's Jalen. But then if you want to talk about the long run for this season, like as long as they got Jalen playing like that, they're going to be just fine. Like maybe they won't win the Super Bowl.
AJ
Maybe
and DeVonta will be happy because they're going to be putting up numbers.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, and I also think this is what AJ and DeVonta feel when they're frustrated is this team has it in them to do it. They just have not been able to, right? Obviously consistently. And clearly you're not going to have 326, 3 touch. Like this is not going to be a consistent performance.
Yeah, we
right,
know.
But,
326 for Jalen.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. Well, and I mean 183 yards and all that. Yeah.
They do,
But like they have it in them to do it. And I think that so far this season there had been questions, especially for me, of like, do they have him in them to do it? So seeing him do that today, I thought was like such a huge sigh of relief and just a reminder that like if Jalen plays well, this team is going to be fine. And when he plays special, they're going to be amazing, like they were today.
Yeah, I think there's no better way to sum it up. And I keep going back to it, and you said it all week, and it just stuck. And it's probably going to end up being the pod title, but Jalen
put the cape on. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
That's really what it came down to.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the other stuff because like there is a lot that, to your point, was frustrating. Let's stick with the offense, and then we'll get to the defense and obviously Nick as well. But let's quickly, because I think we both agreed of all the issues this team has had, the single biggest one coming in, and I still think the single biggest issue this team has right now is the offensive line, the health and play. As a result, I mean, Brett Toth, like I understand that backup linemen aren't great, and like we've seen our fair share of guys, even with Stoutland, who come in and struggle. But the fact this guy's been here 7 years. And he's such a dumb football player. Like, I get it if you're just not talented, but the amount of mistakes this guy makes and missed assignments and like penalties, it's like I feel like anyone has to be better. Where's Trevor Keegan? Get him in there. Like, I don't even know if he's still on the Eagles.
No, he's on the Cowboys. Yeah. Or was. I don't know if he still
bring
is.
Him back. Like that, but the biggest, and again, I feel really good. They're 5-2. That was a big road win after a big, their biggest loss in a long time, and they responded. But like when I look at the offensive line right now, especially with we'll talk about it, but BG potentially looking like making back.
Well, is coming back. Is coming back.
The Dickerson thing still had to leave. Jurgens has had the issues. Like Mailata has struggled with him next to him. Steen hasn't been good. It was bad again today. Jalen, that's another thing that made Jalen's performance so good is he was constantly under pressure and constantly making plays.
So I thought obviously Jalen masked a lot of flaws today, right? So it's like one of those things where you give Jalen all the credit, and if Jalen plays like this, the flaws won't matter as much. But when Jalen doesn't play like this, the flaws that we saw today are really going to hurt them. Now, the Brett Toth thing, I would say, I agree with everything you said. The only counter I would give is he did go in at center today. I don't know how many reps he's getting at center during the week.
But in general, like, man,
but he's been the backup center before. Yeah. So yeah, the offensive line struggled. The other thing is the running game, man. Like, again, they needed to run the ball.
This was the matchup, right? I mean, it's as cool as it is that they threw all over such a great pass defense. It's equally concerning they couldn't run against such a bad run defense.
Yeah, and especially when they had so many chances where they needed to run the ball. Like late in the game when they're trying to kill clock, they had to go to the pass, and Jalen stepped up.
They tried early. You could tell that running the ball was a focus in this game.
Yeah, we certainly won't hear any. They need to focus on running the ball tomorrow. I mean, that 3rd and 5
you were
play.
Texting. How about you texting me and Jack being like, should they throw on this last drive? And they
honestly,
did. They did. Like, that shows you something. Like, how crazy is that to think with this Eagles team, like this group, the last few years, whatever, to say, like, they closed out the game today by throwing it down the field instead of
Yeah.
running. It's wild.
So, all right. So let's talk about Sirianni, because you mentioned before we get to Sirianni, this will be interesting because I didn't watch the broadcast. Like, obviously, I was watching the game, but like, I don't walk away from that with big time Sirianni
I don't think it
issues.
was that bad. I agree.
Okay.
And honestly, I think Kevin O'Connell was worse. I think Kevin O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell was definitely worse. Calling 3 straight throws, third, fourth, and one, not going for the field
right
goal.
Away,
yeah,
it was crazy. No excuses.
Agreed.
I thought, Nick, it's again just that it feels like this team, is constantly,
tons of mistakes again, special teams mistakes, free snap penalty mistakes.
That's what I'm talking about. And, but no, I don't think it's a massively bad Nick day. Honestly, I think we could talk about the defense, and I think some of the, the clock management at the end of the first half I thought was horrendous. With can't remember.
Just letting him go in. There was like 20 something seconds left. I mean, it was 3rd and 10. They weren't clicking. Like, I can see.
But no, I don't think it was such a bad day for Nick. It's just more that like I expected it to look like, again, Jalen. We asked for 2 things from our top 2 dogs. We said, Jalen, put the cape on. He's like, got you. We were like, Nick, clean this bleep up. And we got 1 and 2, So, and again, so not a bad Nick day. They won. They were motivated coming off a big loss. AJ and Jalen played well together. It's all stuff under Nick. I think it was better for Nick. But on the whole, I think, if they had lost, we would have pointed to Nick and the mistakes they made and being like, man, like, what's going on here, dude?
For sure. I agree with that. The only thing not even counter to you, but just a thought I would give for people that are going to be critical of coaching is like being a head coach is more than just the scheme. It is getting your team ready. And they did make sloppy mistakes today, and that's on them. But I also thought they were more physical on the defensive line. Mm-hmm. I didn't leave that game feeling like the Vikings were the more physical team. They showed up. They needed a win. So like, I do think Nick deserves some credit for that, for sure.
I totally agree. All right, let's get to the defense because, look, I get it. They're without some guys, and Dory Jackson goes down in the game. That was a scary moment. Good to see. Like
guys were wide open all game.
Guys were wide open. And they did get some pressure at times. Like, it wasn't enough. It wasn't consistent enough. But considering the guys they had out there, I thought of Jomo till he got hurt. Hopefully he's okay. Had a good game, and Uche got a sack, and there was a Hunt with the pick 6 was great. And Makuba,
Jalen Carter was good.
Makuba maybe was huge. Jalen Carter was good, but on the whole, and even the corners tackling, I mean, Cooper was great tackling, but it just feels like, and Bond, when he ran down, Mason ended up being a touchdown, but chasing him down the line again, I mean, it's just his speed is mesmerizing from a guy's size. But, it feels like, look, we talked going in about who do you trust more, the offense or the defense. After today, I would say the offense. And I said the defense going in. I
agree. And ironic, I don't remember which one I said, but I definitely would trust the offense.
We both said the defense. So we weren't like strong in it, but we were like, the defense slightly more just because they've been more consistent.
Yeah, and I felt more this way at halftime than I do now. Like, I do think if there's 28 other starting quarterbacks in the league, like, they might lose the game today. The Eagles, I thought Carson was that bad. Now, the only counter I'd give is Jalen was clearly in his zone, and I think he might have just
plays that were like Carson got like he was that bad. I agree, but he did make some impressive plays.
He did make some.
But I agree. His misses and mistakes like far outweighed.
Yeah, I mean, he just killed him from
Carson.
the jump. Yeah,
5 years gone, he looked exactly like the same guy. It was unbelievable. It was it was almost. You now that you won, you can like laugh at how like it was like if someone was parodying Carson Wentz playing.
I know. Yeah. So I thought Carson definitely helped the defense out. I think other quarterbacks would have made throws today that would have exploited some of the defense's mistakes. I didn't think the pass rush was that good.
Uche got Jefferson should have had 200 yards and Conte in the one game, not yards.
Yeah. Josh Uche with the sack in a big moment. Like, there were some positives. I thought Nakobe was awesome, for his first game, like legit first game back. I thought he was awesome. But, look, we're going to talk about Brandon Graham later in the week. We're not going to have time to get into it now, but you can see why they're desperate to make a move like that. Like, Azeez Ojulari now has a hamstring injury. Who knows how long he'll be out? Like, that's another edge rusher that's down. So, they are just so short of bodies there. And it was not look again, to wrap it up, they needed someone to put the cape on to help them today. And Jalen put the cape on, and Carson burned his cape. So that was the difference in the game. So the defense not super encouraging. The running game not super encouraging. I thought coaching, you can make arguments for encouragement, but to your point, definitely some moments there. But a franchise quarterback covers it all up. That's why quarterback wins are a win-loss stat for a quarterback. Yeah, so I just thought today the story was Jalen covered up a lot of mistakes where they really needed to. But as we get later into the week, I'm sure we'll focus more on, man, there were also some really discouraging parts of that game.
Yeah, we'll dive more into it and we'll know more about the injuries and stuff. And look, the Eagles are in a good spot. If they can, handle a Giants team, which you figure after, getting embarrassed by them, they should show up at home and
Yeah.
head to the bye 6-2, get healthier, work on some stuff, not.
Well, it kept
This
it
was a
alive
big
today,
one, man.
is what it did. Yeah, it
That's
kept it alive
saying. I'm
today.
just
Yeah,
like, thank God for today. Like, it was so big, and the way they did it was big. But just going out there and winning and showing up was so big. And look, they're a championship team. Like, they might not have enough this year. Injuries might kill them, this or that, whatever, the O line. But like the mental toughness, and that's why I said it was just the Giants game. Like, we shouldn't like question that these guys are gonna fight because they
agreed. Yeah, they answered that call
do.
today.
All right,
yeah.
last thing, and I have to get it off my chest. And it must have been so much worse in the stadium. I hate that Viking horn thing so much. It's like every first down. Like, I could have a touchdown or whatever. It's like they play it constantly. It's like, good play, Viking. Good play, Viking. It's like, shut up. Sorry.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. I think like being in the stadium, they do have one of the cooler.
Cool in there. I get it.
They have a really cool. But here's where I'll agree with you. Like playing the fight song after a field goal, I feel is a bit embarrassing. Like let's just do it after touchdowns. Very cool experience. But you're right. Like I can see if you're frustrated at home watching, hearing that horn would be very. It reminds me a bit of like the back when the Sixers used to always lose to the Pistons, and it would be like Detroit basketball, and it like it's still. So I feel like it's one of those.
So constant. Things. It happens so many times. It'd be one thing if it was, Anyway,
yeah.
All right, we'll let Ellie go. We will have pods, this week reacting, more to the game, looking ahead to again an important Giants game coming off the last one. We can't just be like, walk. Sure. They got to show up. So we'll look ahead to that, and obviously, so tune in for all that, and obviously post game, check out Elliot's Twitter for all that kind of stuff in the daily pods and all that. Thank you to Tucker as always. Thank you, seriously, most of all to Jalen Hurts because we needed this so bad, dude. This city needed this. All right, we'll talk to you guys next.